Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. I've got my slightly more trendy glasses on today for a change, I thought. As I'm not actually doing any reviews. I will be doing some later this week, but when I say this week, my time zone and the time at which you watch this slightly out of sync, and there's a few things going on that give me some recording problems, so we are going to have a slightly different schedule to normal. So today I thought we'd have a sort of a late end of April update. I know I normally do one update per month, but a few things that are worth saying at the end of the month that are sort of news that's different, so I thought we'd get into that. You've just been looking at the Mosquito, which I think I'll kind of start with and explain about this first of all. So I mentioned there's going to be a few things happening. So basically I've got a slight issue in the next sort of 7 days. We're having some work done on the house, which is going to have an impact on my ability to record. So this includes work on the right outside, just behind where I'm sitting now, at the front of the garage. There's going to be some work. Those of you that watch my sports car on Peter Goes Rogue may have noticed the sharp-eyed amongst you that we've got like this lintel thing with we have an apron in front of the garage, and it's really, the paintwork's gone and it needs redecorating. All the paint's flaked up off the concrete, it needs retreated and repainted. So we're having that done. So that's going to be noisy, because there's going to be a lot of power sanding going on, stuff like that. So there's going to be some work going on there. So that's the first problem. So that affects me filming at the end of April. The second and even more serious problem concerning the Mosquito progress is we are having the room that is the kitchen, well, that's the term my wife likes to use, decorated as well, because we've got a problem with the ceiling. It's not a physical problem, it's just we had a leak. It's all fixed now, but we had a leak 2 or 3 years ago, and we got these little marks on the ceiling which aren't very nice, and it just needs repainting. So we're having a guy come in and repaint it all for us. Now the room that my wife refers to, I prefer to, it's a bit like Prince, I prefer to, the room formerly known as the kitchen is actually my spray booth, and it's where all my airbrushes, I've had to move everything into here because we've had to strip the kitchen out. So I've got the airbrush sitting over there, I've got all my paints and equipment sitting just behind me. It's a nightmare. So there's going to be no progress on the Mosquito really to speak of this week, but I want to talk about the Mosquito. I've made some minor progress, so I'm just warning you that again another thing has hit me that is affecting me. I've had this problem with my foot, which is still there by the way. I still can't shift this problem. I have to say, the more I sit typing at the computer and the more I sit here filming, it doesn't seem to help me actually. What I need to do is have a bit of a break and get out and walk around a bit more. Got some nice weather here at the moment, although being frank with you, I don't know if you're in the UK as well. If you are, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's very strange. I've got this. Today I'm filming on Sunday. Obviously it's Monday when you're watching it, but we've had this really weird weather where we've had this beautiful summer's day on Saturday, and yet it goes very cold at night. It went very windy again. It's freezing this morning. This morning felt quite like March, quite wintry almost, in that it was very cloudy, very damp, very cold, and then it sort of burned off a bit, but it's not really summer or anything yet. It feels like it sometimes. You look out the window, you think, oh, it's good. Actually, it's not that warm. We've still got the central heating on, So we're having this up and down, which is, I've complained before, it plays havoc with my asthma, and I have to take an inhaler. And this cold, hot, the worst combo. If it just stayed cold, I'd be fine. If it stayed hot, I'd be fine. But this fluctuating plays havoc with me. So I've had a few issues obviously stopping me sitting at the bench, and now I've got a physical issue where I can't spray the model or concentrate or film or anything else. So I'm going into a rather frustrating week or two, certainly a week, 10 days I think, when we've got this work going on. So that means I won't be doing any more painting, but I will show you what I have done on the Mosquito. It's not very much to report, I'm afraid, but there is something I want to show you on that model that's very pertinent to talking about one of the recent reviews, which I think a lot of you will identify with and understand. So let me show you where we got to. Last time I showed you, we were doing our lubrication oil tanks for the Mosquito. Oh, you dropped it, don't do that. Don't damage it. So we got the oil tanks, and I said I needed to repaint them because, if you remember, I've been refinishing them because we'd had 1 or 2 of these slightly unpleasant areas where we got the sprue contact point from the sprue gates on it. But as you can see, we've got that there, and it's all looking tickety-boo now. I just need to get on with assembling it. Now I can do a little bit. Actually, what I do, the next bit I need to do, the next couple of hours work, I can do without spraying. In fact, I can actually hand paint them. Those of you that haven't seen, this is the Merlin engines, obviously, with their exhaust all done. So I can actually do a little bit more work, but then I will come to a bit of a stop, unfortunately. Excuse me, there's the cough. The asthma cough caused by the weather. Now I want to show you this because something very germane here which I wanted to discuss. Now if you cast your mind back, let me just put this into view, here we go. So yes, this has been sitting, this has had to be moved from the kitchen as well because it sits out of the way, cut under a plastic sheet. If you cast your mind back though to my recent reviews, we had I just want to say something about this actually. I think I may be guilty of oversight slightly. Oversight, perhaps the wrong word. Over generousness. So we had these reviews. We had two kits from DBMK. We had the Sea Fury, which was beautiful plastic, absolutely amazing. One or two glitches in the instructions, which they seem to correct with the other kit, with the Hornet. And these two kits are almost like diametric opposites to each other. So in the Sea Fury we had some slightly confusing instructions, would be a bit unkind, but not as clear as they might have been, lacking in any historical data. One or two bits around the weapons and things which wasn't explained at all. But the plastic was kind of sublime, really nice, you know, a kit I'd recommend to anybody. And then we had the Hornet came through, and I had by this point I was like on cloud nine, because I thought we got a real winning approach to model kit manufacture. And unfortunately, yes, it was the opposite. So this time we had great instructions with history, clarification on the weapons, but the couple of things I moaned about in the first one. But the things that I raved about in the first one, the plastic quality and the moulding quality, oh dear, went a bit wrong, didn't it, to be quite honest with you, let's be frank. And I made a comment that it was a bit like a frog from the 1970s, 80s, which didn't go down too well with the person who owned the kit, I've got to be honest. And I can understand, yeah, but it was interesting that somebody else popped up. I'm sure some of you will have read this. 2 or 3 other people popped up and said, I said that myself, and about 10 seconds after I said it, you said it in the recording, you know, in the video. So yeah, there was some real issues. So it was a low pressure injection moulding process, quite different from the Plastec system that we saw on the Sea Fury. So the Hornet, it was rather disappointing, I've got to be honest. Now I gave it 9 out of 10. This is why I'm bringing it up, really. 2 reasons. I gave it 9 out of 10 because I was trying to help them. You know, I don't want to be seen to be someone who is the prophet of doom, and especially when you've got a new business where it's not easy to start any business in the UK at the moment. In fact, I can imagine it's absolute hell right now. So I take my hat off with total respect to these guys. And that Sea Fury was that was the debut kit, perfect, really, near enough to perfect, you know, absolutely fantastic work, you know, and eye-opening, eye-popping, a joy to review. And then, of course, we had this bit of a downer on the very poor quality moulding. Horrible's perhaps too strong, but the clear parts weren't brilliant. Now, somebody made an interesting comment about the clear parts and said, aren't these actually done by Plastec, though? Because he had a suspicion by looking at the sprues. They were the same design as sprues. And he may be correct, this chap. Sorry, I can't remember your name. But he may well be right, because I responded and said, well, as a matter of fact, if you cast your mind back to my review of the Airfix 24 scale Spitfire back in 23, I think it was, I actually said, this is beautifully moulded, but these clear parts don't really seem as good as the grey parts do. Not as good as others are doing, like Damiar and ICM, etc., etc. And so I don't think it's necessarily the strongest... It's Plastec's strongest point, but it's kind of good enough. It's kind of good enough. But the grey stuff clearly wasn't done by Plastec in the Hornet, and it was bad. You know, I mean, the flash was totally unacceptable. The kit at that price, I mean, really just not correlating with the price at all. Now I know they had some amazing 3D printed parts, but that's kind of polishing a you-know-what, It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to rescue it in terms of my opinion of it, or many people's opinion of it. And I felt that some of those, the exhausts were particularly good actually, but not all of it. The exhausts were good and the wheels and tyres were excellent. Wasn't sure about the seat there, but anyway, overall, yes, the 3D parts were really nice, but just not enough to rescue the very poor quality injection moulding. And there were sink marks everywhere in the props, and it was pretty awful actually. And I think I was maybe too generous. I think I should just say that I was very disappointed. But the thing is, I gave it 9 out of 10, and a lot of people have pulled me up on this and said, "Are you serious?" And I guess I'm trying to help them. I didn't want to offend the good friend that lent me the kit either. But I think it's probably an 8 out of 10, if I'm being honest, aren't we? I think that's where I'd probably be if I was in my heart of hearts, probably more than a 9. So I just wanted to make that as a correction, if you like. I certainly think that I am assured by people who have got inside information that that's probably not the way they'll go again, and I hope not, because they've demonstrated they know how to produce a fantastic kit, and they need to just forget that Hornet. The way they went about, just forget it. The good stuff, yeah, the instructions with the history, that was all great, but just don't use that injection moulder again, for whatever reason they did. Not going to go into it any further than that really, but I will just make one more point about it. You'll remember when I showed you the sprue I said was okay, which was the one that had some of the underside parts. And I remember the Mosquito and the Hornet do share quite a few parts in this area actually. So I'll show you my Tamiya Mosquito, which has not needed any refinement or sanding or rescribing or any of that stuff. But have a look at these parts here in particular, and I'm talking about this one and this one, because if you remember, I got this sprue and I said, oh well, at least this one's quite nice. And they hadn't. This has got you have to forgive the fact it's got this masking tape over part of it, but the ejector ports for the spent shells from the 20mm Hispanos, and in this respect the two aircraft are identical. In fact, this is almost literally identical. I mean, it looks, even the size and shape of it, apart from Tamiya's, is much cleaner. Because there was a tiny bit of flash I don't think I spotted until I saw the playback of the video. Anyway, the point being, theirs on the DBMK was all filled in. This wasn't opened, and I thought that again that was bad, And there's only one reason for that. They know that they couldn't achieve the quality with that low pressure injection process. The injection moulding, and I spotted that straight away and said, well, come on, it's 32nd scale, it's quite a big recess, it should be open, and I think that when this kit came out, this was about £130 ish. Alright, this one's 125, but we are talking 10 or 11 years apart, so they're not comparable on price. But even so, when you look at the quality of the Sea Fury from DBMK, which was absolutely knockout, frankly. I think if they, there's so many parts on that where you can look at it and think, never, please don't go there again, sort of thing. Just don't do that, because you can see it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and not on a kit of that type. And it's such a shame, because if that had been actually done the same way as the Sea Fury, it might have been dearer still. It might be £130, but I think it'd probably be worth it if it was 130 quid now. Yeah, I think that'd be fair. 135 even. Pushing it, I know it's a lot of money we're talking about, but not to see that price and then have that quality on the screen that we saw. And you look at stuff like this and it's perfection, really. It's perfection. So, yeah, I don't think I was necessarily entirely honest, not lying, but trying to be, trying not to offend anybody. I think I may have gone too far with it. So I think 9 out of 10 was a bit optimistic, eh? I think my final feelings is it's an 8, and it's still expensive even as an 8, So let's hope that DBMK, nice guys, that I think they know what they want to achieve, and having got that Sea Fury done, it shows what they're capable of. That was fantastic. So please use that as your as your target, as your example to follow, and just whatever happened with the Hornet. I don't need to know the details or anything, it's not my business, but no, it wasn't a good outcome, not for the price that was being charged, and I don't think we'd want to see that again. And it's unfortunate because I think some people have been a bit too harsh, because some people are too generous, some people are too harsh. I was a bit on the generous side, if I'm honest, but other people have been a bit brutal and said, you know, oh, I wouldn't, you know, this looks like it's from 1960, and a lot of harsh comments, and put me off them, I can't trust them, and blah blah blah. Well, you know, if you don't want to get those comments, don't produce a kit at that price with that quality, would be my advice. But I think you've got to give them a chance, you know. I think if you don't like it, don't buy it. That's why you look at reviews from people like me. Because and this is what I wanted to say, when we talk about numbers at the end in terms of scores out of 10, it's a bit subjective really, and it relies on you remembering everything and blah blah blah, which when you're actually in front of the camera is a little bit harder than you probably think it is. I don't think that's the most important part of the review. The most important part of the review is seeing it, seeing my reaction, seeing the actual. What I say is probably a third of it. I think 70% of it is seeing with your eyes what it looks like, you know. And I see a lot of reviews from elsewhere, and I'm not talking about that kit or recent kits either, for that matter. But people don't show it you close enough, and you don't get. And this is what I'm trying to achieve as best I can. Don't always get it right with the slow focus and the slow zoom that I suffer from. But once I have got it in focus, I think you see it very clearly. And when I've complained about clear parts, you see that really, really clearly. You can, you know, I've been able to demonstrate. I think I've now got my head around how to go about doing that, making sure there is something behind when we do clear parts, and it gives you a point of reference for the refraction. So if there is distortion, you can see it. So that's where I'm going with it. But as I say, the most important thing isn't so much what I say as what you see. Yeah, but you have to be shown it properly for that to work, you know. And not everybody does that, I think. Some people haven't got the right lighting, they haven't got the right camera, or in some cases I like to gloss over things, you know. No names. But yeah, evidence is what counts. It's like a court case. It's evidence, not opinion. I always say to people and my wife, I say, if I don't understand the subject or I've got no information, I don't give an opinion, because I've got nothing to form an opinion with. Show me the evidence and then I'll form the opinion, and that's what I try to do as best I can. But I think in my eagerness to encourage this company, because I do want them to be successful, and we just need more Sea Fury type kits, that's all, and we'll be very happy customers, me included. So there we go. Just wanted to make that plain, but also to give you that comparison with the Mosquito, to show that it can easily be done with the right process. And you don't need to be telling me how to do that. You know, the Sea Fury was so good, you know, that they've done it. But I think it might have been better had they released the lesser quality kit first. I think releasing the best one first can cause them problems, I think. If they'd released the slightly less impressive of the two and then released the Sea Fury, people would be sort of going, wow, that's incredible, look at the step up. And there was also this thing about the numbering on the boxes, which they got completely printed up all wrong. They got, the Sea Fury says on the front of the box 001, the side of the box said 002. Really confusing. And then, you know, we're all left wondering, well, which really is the first kit? I think just some basic checking would have got that sorted. But anyway, I'm not beating up DBMK. I want them to be successful, and what I saw in that Sea Fury makes me think that they definitely will be, as long as they don't try and go down that road again. Just forget everything, delete all that stuff, all those files to do with the Hornet, and move on. Certainly delete the process and the techniques used in the manufacture, apart from the 3D. Moving on, anyway, enough of that, because as I say, new British company, great to see, British-Ukrainian company, you could say, Will and Ilya, and I wish them all the best luck in the world, and yeah, and I look forward to people enjoying their next one. They've got the Scimitar coming, that looks nice, and I'm definitely up for one of these Griffin engine Spitfire. I think I'll be up for that. So just Make them good and we'll be very happy customers. Anyway, moving on, a few things to talk about. So my channel. So this is one of the reasons I'm having this late in the month update. A couple of things to talk about. First of all, memberships, which I've talked about a fair bit. Just to give you a quick update, it's going very well. More well than I expected, if I'm honest. It's going really well. Really fantastic, actually. I can't believe the number of people signed up. So in 2.5 weeks, I think nearly 50 people now, 50 have signed up. I keep pinching myself. My wife keeps saying, this is incredible, this is really successful. So one thing we're going to do, we're going to be having, we've had 3 members only shows. Had a few glitches with the shows, actually, 1 or 2 hiccups. We seem to have a problem with YouTube at the moment where I can, when we have a show like tonight, which is open to everybody, not just members, we have a show like tonight and the non-members can join in, and you can join in the live chat as well as it's being shown. But it doesn't let you do that and on members only if it's a pre-recorded show, just like this one is. Then it won't let you do it. It only lets you do it if it's a live show, which is really doing my head in. And I think a lot of people that have tried to help me with this have not quite understood the actual issue. It's members only. As soon as you do that, it gives you the option to schedule it, but there's no live chat. And it doesn't give you the live chat menu, which normally comes up, which is really weird as well. Anyway, don't worry about it. We're going to get around this by two things. So it's only a problem for members, is what I'm saying, really. But don't worry, members, because we have a way around that. So the workaround is we're going to have a live show. Probably going to have a live show this week. Probably tomorrow. I'll keep you posted. Probably tomorrow. It does depend on these workmen being here. Anyway, they won't be here at the time, but I could be very behind with other things, so it could impact on my ability to do it. But I will aim to do it Tuesday or Wednesday night this week. A true live show with actual live chat. And we're also going to have either incorporated into that, more likely separate, a members only gallery show, which will only be about 8 minutes, a montage of all your work. So that's going to be, I've got one of mine in there as well because I felt left out at the end. But there's some amazing stuff. There's some really amazing stuff, I tell you now. It was mind-bendingly good, some of this stuff, and I was like, oh no. I said to one of you, well, 2 of you actually, I said, sent me through photographs and said, no, I can't accept that, that's too good. That's not quite what I had in mind. I didn't sign up for this. Making my stuff look like rubbish. But it's amazing, it's eye-opening, you know, you forget how skilled people are. And if you see those and you think, oh, I'll never achieve that standard, which is what I've talked about at Telford, isn't it? Well, you can achieve it, trust me. And just a bit of practice, and don't try and, you know, climb Mount Everest overnight. Don't try and leap to certain standards. Just try and get every kit. So one of you said to me, I can't think which one it was now. I think it was Chris Jones. Not sure. One of you said, I just try and make every kit better than the last one. And that's exactly the way to think about it. That's exactly the way to go. But it's really interesting to see the variety of subjects as well. Some unusual stuff, actually. 1 or 2 unusual car subjects. And well, I won't spoil it for you. I won't tell you too much. But we've got about 8 minutes, which is definitely worth tuning in for. So there's that. So they're going to see the members' work for the first time. What else was I going to talk about? Oh yes, that'll be this week. So what I'm going to live shows, cover that. Right. Now here's something that's going to shock you. So I'm going to introduce in a show within the next week or 10 days. I'm going to introduce you to my third YouTube channel. Three, yeah. Third YouTube channel. Some of you are going to be thinking, no, don't worry. It's not a new channel. It's a very old one. It's actually the original YouTube channel from 2014-15. And it's actually called @PeterOxley941, which I didn't choose, but anyway. It was just the name that came up that they offered me, strangely. And it's only got there's about 12 vids on it, I think, and they're all a bit rubbish, I warn you. The quality's not the greatest, but we've got a variety of things. We've got, those of you that like cats, you've got our former cat, Purdy, who's sadly no longer with us. She died of a very nasty illness, stomach related, which she never quite got to the bottom of. and she was quite young. But anyway, there's a really funny little video of me playing with her and her reaching round a shoebox and attacking my hand. And it's actually quite weird because it's almost like she's a Jedi, because she genuinely cannot see. I'm not sure it's clear in the video, but I can tell you she couldn't physically see my hand and my fingers, and yet you can see her with using her ears. She's tracking it like a bat almost, like ultrasound, or radar. I don't know what she's doing. Very good hearing, and you can see that she's predicting where it's going to be, and she ripped the bejesus out of my fingers. And she keeps slashing at me, and she gets me almost every time. It's really weird. That's quite funny. Also, the flight of the Vulcan in its last year, it came to the Cholmondeley Pageant of Power, when we used to have this like a Goodwood Festival of Speed type event at Cholmondeley Castle. Which was a really good event. I only went to it, I think, twice, but very enjoyable. And it's a shame it stopped, because it was like they talked about it on Top Gear actually. Richard Hammond and Jeremy Clarkson discussed it, and Hammond said, "Well, what's this? Is it something like the Goodwood Festival of Speed?" And Jeremy Clarkson, Saint Clarkson, you do remember we've got Saint Clarkson here. Protect us from electric motors. Anyway, he said, "Yes, it's like the Festival of Speed, but with pies and gravy up north." Well, not that up north, but anyway, we don't talk like that round here. The devil does he mean, eh? Anyway, I now refer to him because of I know some of you have seen this already. You just look on the far right here. There he is. St. Clarkson with his, by the way, it's an Alfa Romeo, it's a V6 Alfa Romeo, is it 3.2 litre, was it? Memory serves me. I've actually driven a car with that engine, a lovely Alfa 156, very nice, made a most wonderful sound. Anyway, I'm digressing. Well, I call him Saint Clarkson of Chipping Norton, I refer to him as now. Anyway, that's what he said. So we used to have the Pageant of Power, and we had the Vulcan come and display over it the last time it was on. And I think my wife actually took the footage, or one of the two. There's 2 or 3 of them, and it comes quite low. This Vulcan, you get the sound, and it's quite good, So that's worth seeing. And apart from that, there's a few bits of me doing radio control with some fairly dodgy footage. It's not the greatest. As I say, there's only about 12 videos, and they're all very, very short, so it might be worth it. I'll introduce you to it in due course, and you can go and have a look at it. But don't worry, it's not going to be used anymore, that channel. It's effectively a dead channel now. But so it's not a third channel. I'm not mad. I can barely cope with one channel. I've now got 2 and I'm struggling. And memberships. This is taking up a lot of time, and I'm not moaning because it's a nice problems to have, really, But I certainly don't want a third channel. So don't worry, I won't be saying, go look at this channel, go look at that channel. But it might amuse you for, 20 minutes, half an hour. And on that subject of channels, now here's something very important coming up. Very important announcement. Da-da-da. Major announcement. So, we are approaching my 1000th video on the channel. In the next week, 10 days, we'll have 1,000 videos. I think this is number 996 that we're recording now. So we're going to have a party, a 1000th video party, which will involve champagne. Any excuse for me, eh? So we'll have some champagne, and we'll talk about the history of the channel. I'm going to pick out, 4 or 5 of my favourite vids to recommend to you. And within that, I'm going to talk about models pretty much mainly, obviously. Which were the best models or the most enjoyable models to review, the most surprising models, the most disappointing models, and so on. Try not to dwell on the disappointing ones, but I think it'll have to be said after 1,000 videos. And I think that would be quite a fun show for you to, if I could set it up right, and I can maybe just show you a quick clip from each of the ones in question. I think you might find that rather entertaining. Because there's been some quite funny videos, there's been some depressing videos, like the Sharky Ward obituary and things like that, and also talk about Mr. Tamiya. We lost him, but there's been some very uplifting ones, and there's been some quite amusing ones as well. Mr. Tamiya ringing me up, all that stuff, you know. So we're going to have a little celebration, and I'm going to sort of make it. It won't be members only; it'll be for everybody. We'll have 1,000 videos on YouTube, and you got to remember that my 1,000 is not the same as anybody else's 1,000, because I think my average video length is about 45 minutes, something like that. Average, so 1,045 minutes, and there's quite a few videos that are a lot longer than that, as you know. Some are 90 minutes to 2 hours. I think the longest was 2 hours and 6 minutes. So sometimes they can be a bit long, but obviously that's things like Kits of the Year, which is inevitably going to take time to go through it all, to do it properly, you know. But I hope you've enjoyed them, and I'm going to try and pick out the ones I thought were the most amusing. I'll mention Kits of the Year as well, and what kits won which years, talk about that. And whether we think that, we can have a chat about whether we think that modelling is getting better or worse. Is it getting easier or harder? Are we making it hard for ourselves? Other things that are coming as well. On the other channel, Peter Goes Rogue, my sister channel, which is needing your support, by the way. So please subscribe to Peter Goes Rogue. Underneath there is a link for you to subscribe. Now, recently we have had obviously the potholes thing, which was, interestingly, most of those potholes have been filled. Though I've got to tell you, I went out in my Porsche on, what was it, last week, I can't remember now, about a week ago, and I went over one of these supposedly fixed, and I know it was fixed, potholes, fixed 3 weeks ago. Oh my god, I hit it, and it just crumbled away. This repair was gone, and I really whacked it. Now luckily it was on the right side of the car, it wasn't in the gutter, and it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And I have got adaptive dampers on this car, so it didn't feel that bad. But I was so annoyed, I went straight back on my return journey and took a photograph of it, and blow me, they repaired it the next day after I said, this is a failed repair, it's bloody dangerous, it's in such a bad spot. And the worst thing about this pothole, by the way, was the fact, sorry, I'm going off topic here a bit, but this pothole was deadly because we've got some bright weather now, but it's at such an angle that it's got this huge oak tree which casts a shadow over it pretty much the whole day, unless it's first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening. It's in shadow. All the sun tracks across behind this oak tree, so you never see this damn pothole. And it was a double one. Excuse me. So this is why I said it's dangerous. You know, a motorcyclist goes into that, it's going to be strict. You're not going to, you know, you're going to hit it. Thing is, I hit it. I didn't say this. In the sports car, I hit it at 30. There was a car in front that just pulled out, so I wasn't going very fast. I was doing 35, 36, something like that. And it was a 60-mile-an-hour limit, so it's a good job I wasn't doing 60. I can tell you that would have done some damage, because there's no sign of any marks on the tyre or anything. I don't think it's damaged anything. See, I got away with it because I was going slowly, and the nature of the suspension absorbs it well. But yeah, so they did it the next day, so that was good. But again, they fixed it. Fixed it is a big word, and it's got this kind of a hump. They still don't seem to be able to make it flush. I don't know. Anyway, we did that on the Peter Goes Rogue channel, and then we did ranting about the developers, which is still up in the air, you know. And then I've just done a trailer. Some of you will have seen a trailer in the last few days, over the weekend, about Ron Dennis. And that's going to be work in progress. It's not going to be immediately, this, especially because I can't record at the moment. But in May, I think we'll have it in May. But certainly by the time of the Monaco Grand Prix, I'm going to do a talk about Ron Dennis. And I'm going to do another talk, I think I'll do a separate talk about Formula One. Because I want to see that they've just announced these changes. Again, I don't want to go for tangents here, but they've just announced changes in Formula One. Formula One's in a terrible place at the moment. It's nothing to do with who's winning or losing. I don't really care that much anymore. I just want to enjoy the racing. And I don't enjoy this false battery championship where nobody knows what's happening or why it's happening. Average drivers are being made to look like geniuses. Great drivers are being made to look average. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Anybody who loves Formula One will tell you it's not good. And in fact, this weekend, as I speak to you, we've been having the classic historical Monaco Grand Prix weekend. And it's really, if you've never seen this, it's brilliant. You should. It's too late to see it now. You can go watch it on the on YouTube, on the Goodwood Road and Racing channel. You can go watch the whole weekend. It's the Formula One cars, including even in the noughties we had Schumacher's 2004 car, the car from 2007, 2008, all the Ferraris. This was. They had like a special Ferrari event when they had like a parade almost, but then they let rip and really went for it, almost like qualifying laps. And the sound as they go into the tunnel and when they come out of it makes you realise what we've lost. And even the commentators, one of the younger guys was saying, so this is what Formula One was like 20 years ago. Now I understand why people are cross. Yes, because it was epic. V10 engine screaming up to 19,000 RPM. Oh Lord, it's like something from a horror film. The sort of banshee scream they make. It's terrifying. And if you stood close to the track when they were doing this, it's frightening. I tell you what, you think, oh my God, it feels unworldly. Now it's like a bunch of hairdryers racing around on the back of go-karts. It's just awful. Anyway. More of that sort of rant. I'll become a rant. I'll call it F1 2026 rant. So, because several of you asked me to do this, by the way. This is actually by popular request. I must have had 6 or 8 now people saying, please do a rant about Formula 1 because it's awful. Your wish is my command. I'm coming for you, Formula 1. I'm coming for you. Anyway, that's coming soon. Ron Dennis, I've got Ron Dennis, got Formula 1 coming. And we've got some very interesting models coming up as well, of course, on the channel. Quick plug for my t-shirts, which some of you have seen, some of you have already ordered. I've got a number of orders in at the moment for these. Let's have a quick look. Don't need to put one on right now, but I've got several people, including Aubrey, that want thirsty modeler, more champagne, please. Well, that's my catchphrase when I get the champagne out. So you'll be hearing that one again very shortly. Got a couple here. I came for the review, but I stayed for the rant. Now, we've got these at the moment. Well, I won't say what sizes because as soon as I say it, it'll become obsolete. But basically, they're mainly either large or extra large or 2XL. So those are the main sizes. Are you a modelling cad? That's also started to become quite popular. These are picking up in popularity, the modelling cad ones. More champagne. Oh, more champagne, please. Modelling cad. And this one is actually not quite as popular because I think people are worried about causing offence. I'm a total POS modeller. Painting on the sprue, it means. What did you think it meant? It's nothing rude. Are you a painter on the sprue? This is the t-shirt for you. So we charge, just say what we charge $23.99. $23.99 is the price to everybody plus shipping wherever you may be. If you're a member, you get £3 discount, so it's $20.99 plus shipping. That's a real bargain, trust me, that's pretty much at cost. So members, grab a bargain, and you can sit there then when I'm having my modelling 1000 video party with one of these t-shirts on. You can't be seen without one, really. What's the expression? You're not dressed without one. I'm going to be I'm not going to wear that on the day though. I'm going to wear a special new shirt, one of my flowery fancy shirts that I have, very striking. I'm going to be showing you an all new one. Something else I want to show you, slightly unrelated, but about Concorde. My wife kindly bought me this just recently as a gift. Isn't this nice? It's the first day issue of the Concorde stamps. Now then, look at this. These are lovely. So you've got the pre-production Concorde being rolled out in 1971. Tell you what, can we take it out of the packet? Yeah, let's do that. It's all very glossy. This. Can I actually get that? Is that wise? Hang on a second, just a minute. No, I can't do that. I think I might damage it. So it has to stay in here. So basically, you get a whole set of stamps. You get this set. Oops. There we go. You get this set. Isn't it clever the way they've done that actually? you get the set that's kind of got the overlaps of the different artworks, which all were, I saw these in period at the time in the 70s, I remember them well. And those are really nice, I've got to say. You also get this nice card which tells you all about it. First flight of Concorde. 1969 stamps, that's when it was first announced. Yeah. So you can see why we say 1969 was a good year, because that was basically the year that we had Concorde released, and the first men went to the moon. So it felt amazing, 1969. I was only a nipper, but I remember it. I remember Concorde, I remember man landing on the moon. Those are my first memories, really, in life that I can think of, you know. Because everybody was so excited, saying, what an incredible age we live in. You can fly to America in under 3 hours, and if you're fit enough and trained enough, you can go to the moon. I mean, that is, for mankind, that is something pretty amazing. So there we go. So there's a full write-up here explaining about the cooperation between France and Britain, how they developed the Concorde project. So you get that. This set here actually goes within it. Let me show you. It's like a fiche. Goes in there like that. So that's the original 1969 stamps. Then we have the later edition, which celebrating Concorde on a global scale. And these were actually, I think this was at the end of Concorde's life that they brought these out to celebrate it. And if you look closely at these, I don't know if I can just, yeah, it's a bit awkward to get them out without damaging them, so you'll have to forgive me, but yeah, so that's the rollout, as I said. Then we've got the first Concorde in flight in 1974. Concorde in the new British Airways livery, 1974. The first commercial flight, I think it was Bahrain, wasn't it, in 1976. Flying overhead, 1985. Now remember, this is when we had Live Aid, and Phil Collins famously played with Sting on the drums at Live Aid in London, and then jumped on Concorde in 85 and flew straight to Philadelphia. Was it direct, or was it into New York? I think he actually flew into Philadelphia itself. And then celebrating 10 years of service in 1985 again. 1997, the last British Airways livery, which is a bit like the model that I've got, of course. And then its final commercial flight in 2003. Quite a set, isn't it? It's rather a nice gift. I was really, yes, I was quite taken with that. So I treated the wife to a slap-up meal in the local Thai restaurant, yeah. As a reward for that, because that was very nice indeed. So, let's pop that back. Yes, speaking of the Thai restaurant, I just want to mention something actually, not about food specifically, but just talking about this comment I made earlier, talking about DBMK, and there are other manufacturers as well, including Airfix and others, some of the bigger ones, where there is sometimes this perception about this, cutting corners might be a little bit harsh, but trying to keep costs to a pre-scripted psychological barrier, like £100 for example, or $9.99 or whatever, or you know what I mean. Now I've come across this with the local Thai restaurant, funnily enough, because I've said to you earlier, if you need to put your price up, I think this is a cultural thing that has been lost. I don't think it's something that's talked about enough, and it doesn't get taught in schools, which I think it should. Educating people's expectations and perceptions about value, and you see it in model kits a lot, this. So I'll give you the Thai restaurant example first, and then we'll get to the model kit. So the Thai restaurant that we've got is run by a lady, Thai lady. It's a very tiny restaurant. It's only got 6 tables. I've got to tell you, it's one of the best restaurants. Value for money, one of the best restaurants ever that I've experienced. It's within walking distance of my house. We get a meal and it costs us, with a bottle of wine, you can get a top of the range meal for well under £60, sometimes under 50. They do a meal deal at lunchtime. I've got an old buddy of mine that I sometimes meet up for lunch with about every 5 or 6 weeks. And we tend to always go there because we're both mad keen. And they do this lunch menu, which is just delicious. The food is exceptional. Everything is freshly cooked. Never had a bad meal or anything approaching that yet. The service is fantastic, very personal. And for lunchtime, we end up paying £35. And trust me, this is a lunch that you come away and you're thinking, ooh, I'm not sure I want any dinner now later on. Yeah, it's a big slap-up lunch. £35. So it costs about, I don't know, £16, £17 between you. And was it $15.95? I think it's $15.95, beg your pardon. For that, you get a drink, soft drink, can of Coke with ice. You get like a starter. You get crackers, and you get this double meal where you get this big. But I have the teriyaki chicken tori bowl. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then they have this side dishes, which are almost like a meal in themselves. It's unbelievable. Anyway, the point I'm getting to is get to the point. The value is off the scale, but I think it's too far off the scale, in fact. And we've told her so. And I've said to her, look, you know, you're working at your margins. I don't need to get my nose into your business. Your margins can't be that high because you are delivering so much value here. It's almost too cheap, frankly. It's too cheap. Now, we've got another restaurant in this village. I'm not going to name them or anything. I won't go into any details. Another restaurant that is only slightly bigger, that we enjoy the food from, but is double the price. Double. And this is when we started realising, hang on a second, you know, we went for a meal at that restaurant. It came to one time, just for two of us, £108. Yet now we did have a bottle of wine, and we did have a little whiskey. They had these specialty whiskies, and we were quite curious. We had that at the end. So we had 2 little whiskies, single measure, and we had a bottle of wine, but it came to 108. And I think one came to, well, that was 3 of us, forget that. So £108, lot of money. I could literally eat 2 nights in a row at the Thai restaurant for that sort of money and be just as fuller. And the quality is beautiful. And I said to her, I said, you know, this is too cheap. This is literally too cheap. And I said to her, I'm not trying to price, I don't want you to take this too literally, but I think you should raise your prices a little bit, probably 10%. I said, if you raise your price 15%, nobody would complain. I've never heard anybody have anything but a brilliant experience there. You know, and it's nice to report when something is just off the scale good, you know. Oh, no, I don't want to upset customers. No. Your perception, it's just wrong. Now, this is going back to Airfix and going back to DBMK and one or two others. Revell as well. Sometimes I think they get far too bogged down worrying about the price, what they think it will sell at. And this is what I alluded to when I was talking at the end of the DBMK review. And I said, when you get something as good as that Sea Fury, or something like this Mosquito from Tamiya, some of the Qatari kits that are coming, slightly less. I always have this problem with Qatari because they do everything so well, but they just won't do an engine. Anyway, I'm not going to start ranting about that. But it's almost like they're so good, those scenarios, those good scenarios, you almost say, this is amazing. And the other one was Zokimura with the 190. That was nice as well. It's like, I've got to have it. Take my money. Take my money. Just take my money. I want that food. I want that kit. This is really what I want. Take my money. Now, that doesn't mean, yeah, you can have it. I'll give you any amount of money. It doesn't mean that. But when you have got quality that's so high and you've got a brilliant service and a desire from your customers, don't undersell yourself. And I'm speaking to Airfix, I'm speaking to DBMK, you know, and this is the point I was making. Don't cheapen your product to hit a notional, perceived price point that isn't necessarily required. And in the case of Airfix, I'm thinking of that BF109. Had they gone to Plastech and had that moulded by Plastech, pretty sure we wouldn't have had any of those variable quality problems that they've had. But it would have cost them more money. But I mean, £110? Would I pay £110 for a Plastech? Yes, I would. I don't know about anybody else. Rather than this hit and miss, finger in the air, close your eyes and press buy now and hope for the best. No, I don't like that. And I'm not just picking on Airfix, it's like that with Revell as well. Look at the Revell Meteor. They've gone to this Polish factory that they've got, and it's cost more money. It's a dearer kit, and it's a much better product now. They didn't get everything right because I wasn't that impressed with the clear parts, which is a common theme from some of these kits. I think it's something they're not focusing. All these manufacturers need to focus much more on clear parts. I think it's the one area where many of them can improve. But it's like take my money now. Everybody, Phil Flory's building this Meteor. It's looking very nice, by the way, Phil. It does look good, making a nice job of it. But and he's reporting it's a pretty nice kit. So this is the same thing again. It's like, don't try and make the kit for 40 quid because it'll be rubbish, and that's what Revell have done in the past. Well, I'm saying that when they made that Hornet, the F18, I think the E, the twin-seater, that was just diabolical quality. That was 95 quid. Was it 195, I think. So I don't know what they're thinking of. My point I'm making is this. Dear manufacturer, whoever you are, DBMK or Airfix or whoever, Revell, don't get so focused, on the price. Sometimes they can't see the wood for the trees. Yeah, the goal is quality. If they've got such a good design, Airfix had a great design with that 109. 99% of it I thought was great. But they spoiled it with this awful manufacturing up and down quality, lucky dip quality. Forget that. That was their flagship product. I'm not having a pop at Airfix here, but it's a good example because it was the flagship of their range, the flagship product for last year, and they chose to gamble on the cheaper injection moulder. Now that was a mistake, and I think that most people would agree with me. But it would have a cost attached. So if you do what I'm suggesting, it's going to cost us more money. And I'm saying I would rather, and I think many people from the feedback I've had, most people are saying, yeah, actually, I would rather pay another £10 or £15 to get something really nice, where it's like, like the Sea Fury from DBMK. Oh, gorgeous! Look at that perfect model. Running out of adjectives to describe how good it was. And then I got the Hornet, which was like the exact opposite. Oh, see what I'm saying? And yet, for whatever reason, they went even more expensive. That didn't make any sense. Model your business. It depends what business you're in, what market you're in. I can appreciate Airfix are doing the vintage classics. It's not for me, I've got to be honest, but I can appreciate that's a different market altogether. And the whole point of that is people are getting a nostalgic experience, and they're sort of reworking old kits, and it will involve some work, and it'll be cheap. Fair enough. Fair dues, but don't use the same broad brush approach when you're trying to having your flagship premium product out there. You know what I mean? And I say I'm not just talking to Airfix. I'm talking to Revell. Same thing. It's worked for them by going to this Polish factory, and it worked for DBMK when they went to Plastec. I'm not saying Plastec has to do everything. I'm saying just find a real premium injection moulder and price your product accordingly. If the product delights reviewers like me, it's going to, I'm a modeller, same as everybody else is, obviously. If it delights the modelers, they'll pay a bit more for it. Don't, cut your nose off to spite your face to hit a notional, imaginary price point that you think is absolutely critical. It's not critical. It's not critical at all. Far better to have an expensive product that is absolutely epic. Yeah? Than a expensive product that's bad or an almost expensive product that's not really cheap. It's all about value, it's not about price, is what I'm saying. And this is something that in my career I traded on this for years. I had customers say to me, true examples, two I can give you straight at the top of my head. One was a guy who said, basically I had a long relationship with this company. I was working for a premium manufacturer. And then the company that was my customer got bought out by a company who were lower down the food chain, but dealing with the big supermarkets, who were bigger but made no margin. Okay, bear with me on this. And then basically they said, well, this is the prices we pay to this, I'm not going to name them, the company I work for, the self-adhesive manufacturer, this was in the labelling business, and they said, well, we pay 15% less for that product than you were doing. Don't really understand that. I think you better call in their regional sales manager and ask him what this is about, i.e. me. So I got hauled over the coals. A man that I'd dealt with for years, very strong mutual respect and liking of each other, and he said, Peter, you've embarrassed me. You've been overcharging me for years and you made me look like a fool. And I said to him, I said, yes, but you only buy a tiny amount of the very economy product that this other company were buying loads of. I said, you buy all the very advanced, more technical premium products, a bit, again, like the Airfix 109, the premium, the big scale, think of it like that. The premium products, I said, and they don't really buy much of that. I said, and what we have done for the extra price you've paid, giving you technical support, we've gone to end users, we've gone to shows with you to support you, complaints, we've had somebody in here, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's the technical manager within 24 hours, a drop of a hat, instant service. That has a price, that has a price. We've resolved any problems. We've had one quality problem where there was a defect and that got instantly taken away and resolved and replaced. The others were not due to our product, where it was actually a problem where the end user was using it incorrectly, and we advised them how to get more out of the product and resolve the problem. Or we've given you technical help about, perhaps it's not the right product and there's an incompatibility and you need this one instead, blah, blah, blah. But we've found solutions and answers to cure the problem and take away the pressure from you. That you don't get with the cheapest product. You just get the cheapest product, like Amazon. Yeah, well, it comes in a box and they throw it over your fence or whatever, and it's broken. And you've got to go through all the hassle of then contacting them and sending it back. No, this is a premium product and a premium service where we love the customer to death, but it has a cost. My wages, for example, the technical guys' wages, the backup, our costs for travelling, giving the service, the logistics of travelling to you, etc., from Newcastle or wherever it is. And he said, look me in the eye, and he said, huh. And I thought, oh God, he's going to go absolutely ape. And I said, what's so funny? He said, no, I can't think of a better answer. He said, I wish I'd thought of saying that to them as well. He said, but actually it is true, isn't it? Now I sit back, it is true. Yeah. That's the first example. The second example, same company, slightly different scenario there, where we were competing with a more commodity basic product, not quite as specialised perhaps. And by the way, sorry, I should just finish my story by saying this premium customer of mine were award winners. They used to win Label of the Year awards for some really fancy ornate design labels. Premium product like hair care, women's shampoo, but the premium shampoos, Yardley, Chanel, Boots No. 7, a lot of fancy labels where shelf appeal is a big part of it, and they won tons of awards with our product. Okay, so I wasn't lying, it was all true. Now, fast forward to the other one where they're just buying the base commodity product of us, but they get a fantastic service, next day delivery, which is very good in that industry at the time, and they also get bespoke amounts where they don't have to take the offcuts and things like this. So it was a very good service, but we weren't the cheapest. And there are people out there. They were actually quoting a company from Germany, actually, which was probably one of the more credible ones, in fairness. Not as good as we were, but very good. And the managing director summoned me and said to me, listen, dude, you're just too expensive. I'm not going to pay your price increase. I will not pay you 10% price increase, Peter. You're not worth it, blah, blah, blah. And he went ranting and raving. And I actually had a colleague with me, one of the design product development guys, and he was literally at this meeting. I'm not making this up. He was like literally going like this, head in his hands. He's not used to conflict at all. And I was like, it'll be fine, don't worry, I'll deal with this. And at the end of this rant, and he had a proper rant at me, and I said, I can see you're quite upset about this. I said, I'm really sorry for that. That's not what we want to achieve. And we've been partners in business for a long time. And I said to him, but I'll never get down to the price that you're saying you want to pay. I said, and we have to have this 10% price increase. I said, so and this is one of the most difficult conversations I've ever had in business, and I said, the only way that we can resolve this and that you would see the value of why we're more expensive is if you actually gulp. If you try the competition instead of us, try their product, try their service, try their technical backup for a month, and then in good faith on both sides sit down and talk about it again in a month's time. Well, I'll have to do that then. I'll have to do that. I said, I'm not trying to say, that isn't me saying, I don't want your business anymore, you're too much hassle, you're ranting and raving. I said, no. I said, but it's the only way. I said, you think I'm spinning you a story about how great we are and how great our product and services. I said, it's because you haven't experienced other people that you think that you're being ripped off and that I'm expensive. You only think it's expensive because you don't know what the alternative is actually like. So, sure enough, he goes and tries the alternative product for a month, and he sits down. Yes, he apologised to me, and he said, they weren't rubbish. He said, but they have given some of my staff a lot of stress. Their deliveries are not as good. They're not as reliable on the times they arrive at. They don't book the product in. He said, and worst of all, the people on the printing presses don't like the product. He said, they've sort of given us advice over the phone. Oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. He said, it's just difficult. My guys are used to a premium product, and they are getting upset that I have cheapened the material that we're using. He said, so I'll tell you what, I will pay your extra 10% as long as you guarantee it for at least 18 months. We don't have any more price rises, which I signed up. We had a contract. And I said, thank you. I said, it's unfortunate that I've had to actually tell a customer to go and to go away almost and try the competition. I said, but the problem is sometimes I can sit here talking for hours, but you don't know whether what I'm saying is true or not. And it's only when you experience the alternatives that you find out, actually, it's worth paying more for some things in life. And that is the point. And I'm going on about my career here. Got off at a bit of a tangent, but I'm really talking about model kits here now. It's worth us all paying another £5 or £10 to get something that is pleasurable to use, enjoyable to build, and not, like using the DBMK scenario or the Airfix scenario. You can see the same with Airfix. They've had a they've had a Plastech UK manufactured product, the Spitfire 24 scale. Very nice kit, that. Very, very nice kit, beautiful. And then they've had this 109, which is still got good design, but it's got quality that is just not really that dependable, and has got a question mark over it. And it's all about price. They're only doing it for the one reason. It's because of price. I think in the case of Airfix, they made a mistake by having their absolute flagship premium product going that route. They should have kept that as a premium product and said, look, we're going to have fantastic production quality, production values on this. It's going to feel different and really impress everybody, but it may cost a little bit more. It's going to be 110 quid, See my point? Anyway, I'm gone right off the subject and on rambling on, really, on a subject I hadn't intended to get into. But yeah, so I think at the end of the day, like my Thai restaurant down the road, don't price yourself out. Don't go bust because you're not making any margin. There's nothing wrong with profit. Profit, despite what some members of our current government will tell you, they think that businesses making a profit is a dirty word and that's somehow evil. No, it's not. Yeah, no profit, no product in the end of the day. Yeah, and unless businesses make a profit, there's no tax that can be raised that is beneficial for the whole of society. And the more profit businesses make, the more tax they pay, and so it's beneficial for everyone. So I'm a great believer in profit, and you do whatever you've got to achieve, but do not do it by cutting the quality of the product, because that is self-defeating and will ultimately lead to the demise of your reputation. Like these comments about DBMK, which I thought were very harsh. Oh, I can't trust them now. They've really shot themselves in the foot. And, well, there's some truth in it, but okay, they're a new company and they have to learn. It takes time. But they now know good, bad. Market loved this, market hated this, yeah. So they know exactly what to do. And it's the same with Airfix, really. I hope that next time Airfix do a 24 scale kit that they won't They won't put themselves in this jeopardy of sitting there praying about, let's hope the quality is going to be good. You know, you can't be doing that. They don't need that. They don't need that. Price the product at what it needs to be to make an acceptable margin. Yeah, simple as that. People will pay for quality every time. You know, let me look at this. Somebody was telling me, by the way, last week that the 36 scale Mosquito from Tamiya that I have here has dropped. It was Steve, yeah. He said it had dropped now. He's seen it at £185. Well, if you see it for £185, you should grab it, because that's quite low. And even if you only put it in the stash, one day, like me, you'll want to open it up, get the glue out, yeah, and get cracking with it. Unfortunately, I can't do that this week because I've got the decorators and the builders working. But anyway, thank you for listening to me ramble on. I was trying to make a point there about value and understanding that, you know, it's like Oscar Wilde said. It's typical nowadays that people know the price of everything, yet the value of nothing. Know the value of things. Be prepared to pay a bit more, because the lowest price leads to the lowest quality. Yeah, it's a slippery slope every time. You're not going to find the greatest quality kits at the lowest possible prices, unless it's in a sale. Yeah, unless I pop my clogs. Oh, don't say that! I've heard those stories. One or two of you have been discussing this recently about what happens to you. What have you said? You need to make sure you've got something in your will about what happens to your model kits when you're gone. Don't say such things. It's true though. Because otherwise your family might just sell it off cheap. They won't recognise the value of it. Yeah, same thing. Anyway, that's it for today. That's the end of April update. More coming soon on the channel. I'll try to stick to the subject in the near future. I went a bit off topic there, but I thought it was interesting for you to hear it. A couple of real life experiences as well, where I got away. Those are two very, very sticky moments, squeaky bum time for me. Career over, ? Oops! Saying, you know, you have been ripping me off for years. They kind of both basically said that, and at the end of the day, they didn't feel that in the end. They were peace broke out and everything went back to normal again. Harmony was restored. But it wasn't that I was lying, you know. I wasn't shooting them a story. I was telling the truth. And I've learned this lesson a long time ago. Buy the best quality you can afford. And it was Neil, Creative Time Wasting, who actually he was looking at my video about nippers. We were talking about the nippers, and he said, didn't he? He said, buy cheap, buy twice. And it's absolutely true. Absolutely right. Totally agree with him. And that's true of everything in life, yeah? So I'm trying to pressure my takeaway, my local takeaway and restaurant. Put your prices up. Don't keep putting them up. Just put them up to a more sensible level. I think we should be paying 60 quid for a meal, the meals that we have. And if she's charging us... Oh, the other thing was, this is someone who's just too nice, actually, to be in business. She said, oh yeah, and I'll give you a loyalty discount, and I'm going to give you a free drink. And I said, no. And she did. She knocked the price down to £41. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I ended up giving her a 10 quid tip, which I wouldn't normally do. But I thought, the woman will go bust. There's no way. I don't want her to go bust. I don't. Rather pay another tenner and get the value that I want. You know, I don't want to underpay and then see it close 3 months later. Nobody wants that, and that's true in model kits as well. Anyway, there you go. Thank you for joining me. Remember that there's going to be a live show where we're going to talk about all things to do with kits only. I'll try to keep off the business stuff. And we'll have a live show and we'll show your great work from the members. Stay tuned for that. And I'll be back, as I say, with all these other things like the 1000th video show party coming soon. You definitely want to tune in for that, because I think it'd be quite amusing. And we'll have a few laughs about a few of the things that have gone on in the last 10 years. Hope to see you soon. Thank you very much for listening. Take good care of yourselves. Until I see you again, stay well, stay safe. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.